Let me start by welcoming you. So welcome to your class all about hosting a live exchange. My name is Tila Beischer. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I want to start by acknowledging that I'm joining from the ancestral and unceded lands of the Silks Okanagan people up in BC, British Columbia, Canada. I'm a customer program manager here, so I run these events and I run some of our training as well. And today we're talking all about hosting live exchanges. So we're going to spend 30 minutes together today going over really why you would host a live exchange, what's the benefit or the value that you're going to see in terms of your exchange cadences and the way that you're managing exchange communications. We're going to know some use cases. What are some examples of ways that you could integrate this into your strategy? Go over some tips for success, and maybe most importantly, we're going to spend a lot of time in the product actually doing a tutorial together. So we're going to wrap up with a Q&A at the end. So if you want to hold your questions for the end for that live exchange, please do, or you can pop them in the chat. Just going to share that I'm alone here, so I might not hop into the chat while we're going through the presentation, but your questions will get addressed. All right, let's hop in and talk a little bit about the why behind live exchanges. So if you're here, you know that there are two ways to host an exchange. One is asynchronously, meaning you set the exchange up and then you send the link to people. They click on the link and they participate on their own time. A live exchange is a live experience. We're going to do one today that happens while you are sharing your screen, or once we can all be together in person, you're presenting your screen and everyone in the room is sharing and rating thoughts at the same time. They're really powerful as a way to really quickly gather a lot of insight from a large group of people. And a question that comes up quite often about live exchanges is how many people can we include in a live exchange? Anything from 10 and up. So I've seen it work with groups of 8. You just need to make sure that everyone is rating all of the thoughts, to hundreds and even thousands. What's really valuable about that, think about a really large webinar that you've been on and the Q&A, is that people are kind of picking and choosing which thoughts might show up in the Q&A. If you're running an exchange saying what questions do you have, and then people are rating, you know that the ones that you're responding to that rise to the top are the ones that people really do want to talk about. So really what allows you to do is to drive a really well-organized and focused meeting and event. You have that order of thoughts to drive participate or to prioritization, and then you're able to really drill into what people want to talk about to keep that meeting really focused and really prioritized. Think about how much time is lost to meetings as we're all living in this Zoom space right now. Making sure that your meetings are more impactful, that they are really efficiently considering all of the people, all of your stakeholders' voices will make that time more focused. What I also love about hosting a live exchange is you have the dashboard afterwards. So not only are you having that live experience of everyone really inclusively sharing their voices and rating the thoughts of others, but you have the data to work with afterwards to inform any initiative that you might be moving forward. And really, when you think about why would I do this or why would I want to run a live exchange, it's because you want to scale a group discussion. So there's a really important discussion that you need to have with the stakeholder group, and you need to gather everyone's input and have that speed to better through the rating and the prioritization step. So when to use a live exchange, my answer is any exchange that you would host would serve to be run live or to be hosted live. And something that you should keep in mind is that we really consistently see live exchanges having higher participation metrics to asynchronous exchanges. Think about the attention economy that you're competing with right now. If you're shooting out an exchange via email, you have to ensure that someone's going to click on that email and then click on the link, right? And then spend the 5 to 10 minutes on their own time participating. You can incentivize that with reminders, with really carefully written introductions. But if you're all together in a room, you kind of have that attention and you're capturing the momentum of the now, and you're able to really get people to participate. One strategy that I love is when you're all live together, you can say, okay, I see there's 50 people in this call and only 30 people are in the Zoom meetings or in the live exchange so far. We're going to wait another 2 minutes until more people have the opportunity to participate. And so with that, saying that you can host a live exchange with any exchange, I'm going to give you 3 ideas to get started. So the first is, do you have any upcoming meetings or conferences that you're working on building an agenda for? What you can do is you can run an exchange and use that to inform the agenda. And let me give you an example of how we do that at ThoughtExchange. We have monthly or bi-monthly team meetings or all company meetings. And we'll often start that by running an exchange. What are the most important things that we need to talk about as a group today? And then using the top thoughts to inform our agenda and to respond to all of that. And that works really well in a team setting. It also works really well in a larger group setting. You can also use ThoughtExchange as a Q&A after a presentation. So that's what we're going to use it for today. I give you this material, and then I'm going to ask you a question of what are your thoughts and questions about what you learned today? What else do you need to know about hosting a live exchange? And that way you're responding to what came up in the presentation or in the event as it happens. The final way that you could use it as a wrap up to cement learnings. I know those in the education sector are working right now on wrapping up the school year. And so maybe you have some of those final team meetings with your different sites. You could run an exchange asking what were the most important things that we learned this year? What mindset do we need to be in as we start planning for next year? And others are also working a lot right now outside of the education space on a lot of hiring is what we're hearing right now. So that involves a lot of onboarding. And so at the end of onboarding meetings, different trainings, you could say, what was the most important thing that you learned today? What do you still have questions about what you learned today? Really, you're able to leverage it at any point in a meeting or in a presentation. One other strategy, a pro tip that I'm going to give all of you on the call today is to really encourage you to boost participation in your exchanges by leveraging the live exchange function. So what I mean by that is if you have an asynchronous exchange happening, maybe you have an exchange and you have it set to be open for a week or 10 days, then you've emailed it out, you're sending reminders. If you have meetings during that live period at which you could host a live exchange, and get people to participate, you're going to get a higher volume of participation in the end because of that momentum of being together. So think about how you could layer those two together to increase your participation metrics over time. All right, going to chat with you a little bit. Sorry, jumping to this slide, some tips for hosting a really successful live exchange. And the first is with every exchange, we always start here when we're coaching leaders, regardless of where you're at in the process, is to start with your objective. Why are you running the exchange and what do you want to get out of it? Really be clear about how it fits into and adds value to the event or the meeting that you're hosting. And oftentimes this will naturally lead you to a question. So for example, if you thought about, I want to run an exchange to hear insights about the information I just presented, kind of naturally leads you to that question of what are the most important things that you learned today, or what do you need to know more about based on what we just talked about today? My other tip for you is to consider timing. This is a technical or logistics piece that we hear quite often. How long do I need to host a live exchange? And I'm going to say that it depends on the size of your group and their familiarity with ThoughtExchange. So if you are working with your internal team, it's 10 of you, you always participate in exchanges, you probably need 5 to 10 minutes. If you're working with a larger group, maybe you're hosting a webinar of hundreds of people, you're probably going to want 15 to 20 minutes. 5 minutes to intro, 5 to 8 minutes for participation, and then time to respond to the thoughts afterwards. The other piece that you'll want to do is exactly that. Consider your audience. Who are you reaching out to? Who's going to be at that event? How many people are there? And how familiar are they with ThoughtExchange? Do you need to walk them through what that share, that start, discover step is? This final piece here is all about the technical details. These are some pro tips. I've hosted hundreds of live exchanges at this point. Make sure you have all of your other tabs closed off so that you have your browser or your internet's full capacity. Practice the screen share ahead of time, especially if it's a new tool. I know that I've hopped onto Microsoft Teams meetings and realized that I didn't have permission set up to share screen. You need to be able to share screen to host a live exchanges, so make sure that you do that. And read through the help articles ahead of time just to make sure that you understand the full flow and the full process. It's really simple once you ran a few, but those are my tips for getting started. All right, so with that, let's hop into a little bit of a tutorial on presenter mode so you can see how you would set it up and then how you would host it. And to do that, I'm going to hop into a ThoughtExchange account. This is our ThoughtExchange Essentials room. So just a lot of demo exchanges in here from our Getting Started workshops from our classes. And you can host any exchange as a live exchange. So that might mean that you're looking at the studio and you're thinking, okay, right now, I know that I'm working on this employee engagement process. And I know that upcoming, I have a meeting all about mental health and wellness. Maybe I'm going to use this exchange, click on create. I'm going to edit the title. Maybe meeting is on June 10th, live mental health exchange. Something that is nice about hosting a live exchange is you are going to verbally do the introduction. So you don't need to write the introduction and you don't need to record a video ahead of time. I'm going to manually set one up. So any of you who are on the call who haven't seen an exchange set up manually before, I can see that too. So to do that, I just click on create new exchanges. I give it a title. I'm going to name this our class is June 8th live exchanges. Perfect. My objective is to, I'm going to say, inform strategic direction. You can choose what that objective is for you. And the question that I'm going to ask you today is, what are your thoughts and questions about hosting live exchanges? So it can be as simple as that. With a live exchange, you can skip the deadline and then you can close it at the end. I could write an introduction, but I'm going to verbally introduce it to you so you can skip that. In terms of segmentation, so participation, grouping, and survey questions, I would encourage you to limit these to as few as needed for a live exchange. Think about the experience of someone joining this. You don't want them to hop in and then you're waiting 5 minutes for people to answer 10 survey questions. If you can shorten it to 1 or 2, then you'll get people into the exchange that much faster. So I'm going to ask a survey question. I'm going to say, how prepared do you feel to host your own live exchange? I'm going to say very prepared, somewhat, and maybe not have a typo. There we go. And then I'm going to say as well, I need more practice. Done. Perfect. So 1 to 2 survey questions at max. The other thing that you'll want to do is make sure that you edit your settings. So I'm going to turn on multi-language. Live exchanges do work with multi-language. It's pretty powerful. I'm going to skip moderation as well and just click on ready and then click on launch. So it's that simple to set the exchange up, to actually welcome people in and go through the exchange. Click on launch and invite. You can either click on launch and invite and grab the link, and then it will say, or present your exchange, but I'm going to show you how to find the present mode. So if you set this up ahead of time, which ideally you're doing, you're setting the exchange up a day or 2 before the meeting. Then when you're actually in your exchanges view, see these 3 dots over on the right next to the exchange. You're going to click on those, and the second option here is present. And presenter mode is the tool to host a live exchange. So you can see it gives you some instructions on what it is. Click on present, and then you can explore the results. So I will click on present. It's going to open up my backend tools. I click on OK. There's a timer built in, and the timer is a visual tool for your participants. How long do I have to participate? What you're going to do is click on the present button, and this is the screen that you will screen share. So my best tip for you is set the exchange up ahead of time and have this tab already prepped and ready to go, so that when you say, and now we're going to hop into the exchange, you just click on this tab and open it. People can join in 3 ways. They can use the QR code on their mobile device. They can go to tejoin.com, or see this paperclip icon that I'm hovering over in the bottom right. You can click on that and then paste it into the chat of whichever screen share function that you're using. The mobile device is really nice once you can be hosting live exchanges again, because you could imagine that you could be projecting this at a conference or projecting this at a meeting on Zoom or on Teams. It's really great because you can either have people joining using the QR code on their mobile, and if they want to participate via their computer, then paste the link into the chat. So what you would then do is say, we're going to give you some time to join. I can see that one of you have hopped in. I'm going to encourage you all on the call to join either using the QR code or the link right now. And see that I'm watching this number up in the top here. So I'm waiting to see how many of you on the call are hopping in there. I'm going to wait until about 70% of you have joined before I click on the play button. And you can just watch that number growing. And so once you click on the play button, notice that the timer starts counting down. So I could say, all right, I can see the majority of you are in the exchange now. For those of you who still need more time, I'll leave this screen up for a minute. Please share your thought and rate as many thoughts of others as you can. And for those of you who are wondering, we do have a script on our help site. So there's a script that you can use to talk you through that. I'm going to get you all to share a thought or a question, or just to populate something in here so that we can see what the next slide will look like. And I'll just wait a minute for that. You could even write test in there if you wanted to. All right, and here's where I was getting you to share those thoughts. Because we see the connections view on this middle tab. So there's 3 views in presenter mode. There's this join one, there's the connections view, and then over here is discover. And what people are seeing here are all of you. You are these purple icons. Blue are the thoughts being shared, and then the orange are you rating each other's thoughts. And these shifts, or the thoughts over here on the right, these are your thoughts shuffling in order as you're rating. So as people are rating things higher and lower, you're going to watch these shuffle during the experience. What I love about this is you're going to have some people who finish the exchange really fast and they just want to sit here and watch things change, right? So you have a visual going while they're participating. A tip for you too, while you are hosting, is to be quiet. I know that I'm talking through this quite a bit because I'm wanting to walk you through how you would be hosting and to be thinking about all the details, but although it feels a little bit odd to have a quiet Zoom call or a quiet Teams call, it's actually really beneficial to leave people this space to think. So I would often phrase that as, I'm going to be quiet and put myself on mute to honor your need to participate and rate thoughts. I'll pop off mute and give you some prompts to rate more. All right. So I can see that some of the rating has quieted down a little bit. You can watch these numbers changing here. So you can see thoughts being entered and the stars being rated. What you can also do is encourage people to rate more thoughts. So if you have 100 thoughts and only 200 ratings, you want more to be happening. So maybe if we hit the end of the timer and I said, okay, I see that each thought has actually only been rated about 2 times and we want that to be more robust, I'm going to give you another 2 minutes to hop in there and rate more thoughts. And you can just click on these plus icons, plus or minus, to add or remove time, depending on how the group is doing with that process. Awesome. All right. So with that, I'm going to move over to the final screen. This is the Discover screen, your opportunity to respond to thoughts that come up in an exchange. And I see this used in 2 ways. So one is people will actually close the exchange. So they'll click on pause, and then once the timer is up, you can click on this button and close it. And that means that people cannot share or rate any more thoughts. So this list isn't going to shuffle. I'm going to get you in the exchange. If you can hop in and rate more thoughts, I want to show you what it would look like. So see, it continues shuffling as you're sharing and you're rating in here. It's continuing to move. So if you're hosting this with groups of hundreds and you really want it to be stagnant as you're going through here, just click on the stop button too. Awesome. The other thing that you can do here is you can double click, triple click on a thought, and it will expand and focus in. So imagine that you were running that mental health exchange and you were saying, what are the most important resources we could offer you? You could go through and talk through more counseling services. Maybe we want more time off. Maybe we're looking for team time for bonding. And that way you can respond to each of them one by one. All right, and so with that, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna press the timer, give you 30 seconds, challenge you to rate all of the thoughts in the exchange, and then we're going to go through and talk through the questions that came up here. We're a smaller group today. There's actually only 6 of you on here with me. So if you do want to come off of mute, I can do that too, and we can expand on your questions as we're going. All right, let's look at that Discover view. First thought, doesn't seem too complicated. Major takeaway is to keep questions simple. Absolutely. That will lead to the best experience. The simpler the question, the more robust an experience that the participant will have. A good example that I could give you of a live and learn moment is running an exchange asking what's the most important and what could need improvement. When people are participating live, they're not always sure what they're rating. So let me expand upon that is an exchange asking what are the most important things for us to do and what could we improve upon for this plan. And if someone shared time, and they just put one word in, they didn't say if it was important or needs improvement, the participant would have a challenge rating that experience or rating that thought. Simple is always better. Great tool for data collection. You can connect to a larger audience. Absolutely, really valuable for running webinars, for running larger town halls that you might be doing. One tip that I want to encourage you to think about as you're running a larger exchange is ThoughtExchange presenter mode does not work well with participant groups. So if you have your exchange segmented using participant groups, I discourage you to use presenter mode and instead to run separate exchanges. If you are exploring that, reach out to your customer success manager and they can support you with some coaching around setting the exchange up for the best experience. Enjoy the pro tips. Good. I'm glad. I hope this was a valuable and useful session for you. Another question, do they rate them at the same time as people are leaving thoughts? Yes. So the people will share a thought and then rate the thoughts of others, and that process happens fluidly. So sharing and rating happens at the same time, essentially depending on where the different participants are at. There's always going to be that little bit of a lag while the first couple thoughts are being shared, but then it gets started really quickly. You saw that happen while you were participating. Simple UI, good. I'm glad to hear that's our goal. I want to use this in a presentation at an upcoming conference, but I'm worried about Wi-Fi and internet connection or cell signal strength for participants. I'll be in an unfamiliar room or space. That's a really good thing to consider. What you could do is encourage people to participate on their data instead of the Wi-Fi, and also to check in with the conference host. So if that might be at a hotel or at a conference venue, if they've had multiple people participating on Wi-Fi before in events like this. So easiest is to recommend, we recommend that you use your data plan for this. It does not take up a lot of data. It's essentially going through 3 web pages. That way they're not stumbling over that login process for that public Wi-Fi. All right, the next one here. Oh, that was it. We got through all of them. So not a ton of questions. I want to thank you so much for your time today to come and learn all about live exchanges. I hope this was really valuable for you. I'm available to stick around for a couple more minutes if you have more questions. And I do want to encourage you to attend our upcoming classes that we have the rest of this month. So next week, we're talking all about questions and introductions. And then the week after that, all about working with your results. I will pop the link to that in the chat and you can feel free to join us. We'd love to see you there. They're quick tidbits to start your week. And I'm going to leave some space now for questions. So Erin, I see that you've raised your hand and you may have a question. If you'd like to come off mute, I can click on allow to talk and I'll just do that now and you're welcome to.
Hi, I have a question on I just wanted to know how to do the analysis on the thoughts. I already started using the Thought Exchange like a couple of days back. When do you conduct live sessions for the analysis part? Especially, I want to know how to use the theme, like create sub themes and things like
Oh,
that.
great question. Yeah. So with a live exchange, it functions the same as with any exchange in terms of your access to your dashboard. So what you can do is you can hop into this exchange at any point and click on Discover Dashboard, and then you'll have all of your results here. And what's great about ThoughtExchange's dashboard is that it does some AI theming for you. This is a small exchange, so we're not seeing too much, but it'll create some of those themes and then you can work through them yourself. If you're wanting to learn a little bit more about the dashboard, I would encourage you to attend our webinar that we have on the 22nd, or to reach out to your customer success manager and they can coach you up with a little bit of dashboard usage. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I saw Jillian, you have a question as well.
Yes, hi, thank you so much. My question is about multiple exchanges for one meeting. I just want to clarify that what I heard you say is it's best to, like, if you have multiple general sessions as a part of a conference, should you create an exchange with one or two questions per general session versus, like, is that the right way to approach something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would encourage, Jillian. So if you're planning a conference and say you have 4 sessions that day and each session has a different topic, you have one question for each of them. So then you would have 4 different exchanges.
Got it. Thank you.
And that it's best for you because it means that your data sets are separate, and it's best for the participants because the thoughts that they're rating are related directly to that session that they just participated in.
Okay, cool. And then you said if you ask what is your major takeaway and what could be improved upon, you said to keep those questions in separate exchanges, or it's okay to just have them as separate questions in the same exchange?
Yeah, it really depends on your objectives with the exchange. So when you're thinking about exchange design and that question design and what you want to get out of it, if the goal of the exchange is I want to hear feedback on the session, then it could be something like, what's your feedback on our session? And then you're bypassing that what went well and what needs to be improved, right? Because if you think about it, if you ask a question like what went well and what could be improved in the session that we just offered, and someone just said technical, and they didn't say technical went well or technical needs improvement, then when other people are rating, they're not sure what they're talking about, right? So separating that out into more generalized question helps people to respond to it in an easier way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions today from the group? I'm so sorry, my neighbor's just starting some lawn mowing. Classic Zoom webinars, right? All right, well, if we don't have any other questions, I'll end the meeting now. We're going to send you a follow-up with a lot of the resources that we talked about today, and we do hope to see you at future classes. Any events that you have coming up, you can reach out to your customer success manager, and they're happy to help you plan how you would host these 2 live exchanges. All right, well, thank you all so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your weeks, and again, happy exchanging. Take care.